Hey, welcome back to the place where energy matters. And in this video I'm going to cover something that you shouldn't do. So as regular viewers of the channel will know, DADvinci is all about serving suggestions for life. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. And this includes tips and tricks on how to save energy and get the most out of alternative sources like solar. So this also comes with the fact that we experiment in the background and try and find different ways to make your energy go further. And this video highlights the fact that it doesn't always go according to plan. So the clip you're about to see was being put together as part of another video in the series called Energy Matters. But as it stands now, this should just be used for awareness and it should not be followed in any way, shape or form. But what it does do is explain the problem I was trying to solve, and I'll cover off afterwards why this shouldn't be followed. Now on to the other type of washing. Well, drying it indoors during an energy crisis. Before this all started, I just used to dry it on radiators and open windows a little bit to keep the indoor humidity down. Since I've been making an effort to use the heating less, and when it's on at a lower temperature, I started to notice humidity problems within the house. So these turned up in the form of condensation on windows, more than normal for this time of year, and also mould prone spots or cold spots on walls started to show mould up a lot quicker. I got hold of a dehumidifier last year to start drying my washing in anticipation of using my heating less and obviously not the normal radiator method. But what I hadn't counted on was the fact that the bedroom where I usually dry my washing this time of year wasn't getting warm enough. So the dehumidifier wasn't pulling much moisture out of the air and it was taking ages to dry anything that I put on the drying rack. So in order to try and make the whole drying process more efficient and obviously keep as much moisture out of the air as possible, not running the dehumidifier for hours and hours because obviously it still consumes energy even though it is an efficient way of doing it, and also to get the washing dried quickly, I turned to the humble grow tent. As you can see, I've got a fairly large one and this is in my smallest room, so it looks like a very large wardrobe or even a TARDIS if you're familiar with Doctor Who. But the reason I did this was so that I had enough room inside to sort of configure it how I liked with how I wanted to put washing in there, but also fit the dehumidifier as well, and then give enough air for it to circulate. So here's an example of how I got on with the towel load. Right, we're set up and ready to go now. As you can see, I've got some wet towels that I've literally just washed. The dehumidifier is there, set up, ready to go. All I need to do now is just literally zip up the grow tent. But I've also got the energy monitor plugged in as well to see how well we get on in terms of that. So let's get switched on and zip it up. So as you can see, it's already on 70% and indicating as red on the front. So I'm going to zip it up now. So after about 5 hours and 1.1 kilowatt hours used, this load was largely dry. There were a couple of edges that maybe needed a little bit longer, but that was due to the fact of the way I'd set it up in the tent. So the air circulation wasn't great in certain places, and also some of the edges are actually touching the side of the tent. But largely this was a great success. So the other thing that I noted as well was there was really decent heat build-up that obviously comes from the dehumidifier, which obviously helped to remove that moisture from the air while it was in the tent. So as I continue to test this and try and improve it further, I'm going to see if actually hanging the washing from the roof inside the tent actually helps with air circulation and drying times. The other thing I'm going to do as well is also see if a low power fan in there could also help to improve circulation and again improve the drying times and the less time I need to run the dehumidifier. So as this goes for an endeavour, I would say so far so good. Obviously I can still improve things further. But in terms of its bulkiness and the size of it, it all depends really what you would need on this. So for me, I'd still think this is the right size. And what I can do is I can still dismantle this back to almost flat pack sizing, ready for the outside drying season. So in actual fact, I've not really lost much out and I've got that bit of spare space upstairs to actually use. Right, now for the reason why I can't use this setup, and it's down to my dehumidifier. Now after I made this video, and also I've used it like this a few times, I remembered something that I'd seen before about portable air conditioners and about the refrigerant gas that they use. So as you can see on screen, my dehumidifier uses a refrigerant called R290. And this is actually propane, and I believe it's a pure form of propane, not the one that you would buy for heating or cooking that has that smell in there due to the impurities that are added to it. So this is actually a flammable gas. So there are guidelines that the manufacturers suggest that you follow to make sure that everything's safe in operation. So as you can see, the manufacturer says you need a floor area larger than 4 meters squared. It's not only to use this, but also to store it. Because again, if the system does leak, I'm assuming that that gas getting out needs to have an area to dissipate. So this is where the grow tent solution fell apart, as in the fact it only had 1 meter squared worth of floor space, where it needed larger than 4 meters squared, which is fine in the smallest room, but not in the tent itself. So it all comes down to the fact that this is actually risk-based, and whether or not this actually happens and the likelihood of it happening and how much gas is actually contained within to even cause a problem or a risk of fire is not even my decision to make. I'm not an expert, I don't have any qualifications or any certification in this area, so if there are any HVAC or refrigerant type engineers that may see this video who do have expertise in this area, maybe you could add some comments to the section below, because I'm sure people would like to know more. So although this didn't pan out as I was hoping for, I'm still going to see if I can use the grow tent for the next indoor drying season. So maybe using fans or some other way to extract the moisture from the grow tent itself. But what I do suggest is if you do buy a dehumidifier, a portable air conditioning unit, or even a fridge, it might be worth checking out what the manufacturer suggests in terms of floor area, just so that you cover yourself off. And the other thing that might be worth doing is just looking at the different types of gases that are used as refrigerant. So there you have it. Drying your clothes indoors and being safe about it. If you do have any comments, questions or suggestions, just pop them in the section below and I'll respond as soon as I can. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to DADvinci.